So basically, what is a language? A language is something which is used to communicate between two people or two parties or two humans. If you and me are talking something, we are talking either in English, Telugu, or Hindi. That language is a barrier. So, language is basically which is very much used to communicate between two people or two parties. It's something which we can tell. But what is a programming language? A programming language is something which is used to communicate between a human to computer and computer to human. Suppose if I say we are writing a piece of code in the system, that means the piece of code is something which is understandable by the system. And from that particular system, you get the output. The output is understood by you. So a programming language, that means either C or C++ or Java or .NET, Python, Ruby, Perl, all these are different types of programming languages. So that particular thing is something which is called as a programming language. Programming languages are of different types. Today, we are going to learn about what Python is. But before we starting with Python, you should know about few basics of what programming language is all about. In general, how many different types of programming languages are there? When this question was raised, many people answer in such a way that C, C++, Java is something they tell. But usually different types of programming languages in the sense, the first one is processor-oriented programming language. Second one is object-oriented programming language, scripting programming language, and modular programming language. These four are the different types of programming languages which we have. And when coming to processor oriented programming language, to know more about processor oriented programming language, processor oriented programming language is something which deals with functions concepts. That means completely you have programming related to the functions type. Each and everything is created as a function and from the execute. Like the best example for the function based programming language is C. Before that, Pascal and Fortran also comes under this particular process only. The next one is object-oriented programming language. When coming to the object-oriented programming language, it do have OOPS concepts in it. What are OOPS concepts? OOPS concepts are basically encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and data abstraction. So when coming to this particular thing so-called OOPS concepts, you have four different concepts within it. The best examples for the OOPS concepts are C++, Java, and .NET. And these are the best examples for the object-oriented programming language. So when coming to the scripting, the third one is scripting. Generally, when coming to Python, many people say that Python is a scripting program. But before we go deeper into that particular thing, you should know what scripting is all about. Scripting is basically you do have dynamic data typing in it and interpretation concepts also will be there. So what is the dynamic programming? Dynamic programming in the sense, suppose x is equal to 10. Did we give that 10 is something which belongs to integer, float, or complex value? Did we mention anything in front? No. So if you directly give the value, from that value, if it could find out what data type it is on its own, then it is called as dynamic data typing. So Python is basically a dynamic data typed program. Not only that, Unix shell scripting, JavaScript, VB PHP, Ruby, Perl, all this comes under dynamic data typing only. So, but when coming to this particular thing, so-called C or Pascal or something, we have to mention about the data type well in advance. If suppose in C, we write integer x is equal to 20. That means the value which you are giving is an integer value, something which you are mentioning prior in advance. This is not dynamic data type. So if you directly give the value, this is a dynamic data type program. If you give it in this format, this is a static type. So scripting programming languages go deal with this dynamic data type and interpretations. If you give a single line immediately in the next line, you get the output. That interpretations would be there in the scripting part. And when coming to the modular part, modular programming is something you have modules concepts. Modules are basically a packages wherein which it consists of multiple group of values within it. So multiple group of functions within it. A module is nothing but in a module you have group of functions related to that particular thing. Suppose mathematics is a module in Python, math module. In that you have all the functions that are related to mathematics. Next one, these are the different types of programming languages: processor oriented, object oriented, scripting, and modular programming. The next one is you have different levels of programming language. So in different levels of programming languages, you have low level, middle level, and high level. Low level is one of the very ancient programming. That means very long back programming. So you have to consider only the memory issues over here. What are memory issues? Memory issues are basically the spacing issues. When you are writing a piece of code, by mistake, you have multiple different spaces within it. So you have to go back and check each and every line of code, and you have to remove all the extra spaces that are very much present in that particular thing and execute. That is low level programming. The best examples for the low level programming is microprocessors and microcontrollers. Next one is middle level. So when coming to middle level is something which is built over low level. So low level being one of the basic programming, then comes the middle level. So from middle level onwards, you have started this business logics also. You have a logic that means some if condition, while loop, for loop, all these started existing from the middle level language onwards. In middle level language, the best example is C language. So you have memory issues. That means spacing issues still exist, got carry forwarded, but as a value addition, you have business logics also over here. The next one is high level. When coming to high level, you have to consider only business logics. You are very much bothered about the memory issues because memory issues are taken care by an extra unit so-called garbage collector. What is a garbage collector again? Garbage collector is a process that is very much within the programming language. So it automatically, as the garbage collector is within the programming language, what it do is it automatically deallocates the unused space that was present in the programming. Because sometimes you give an extra space between two words or two things. So it won't consider a space. It will overlook that particular extra space and it goes and carry forwards with the process, because the time which takes for the extra space, because each and everything over here in programming language is calculated as a byte. So if one extra space is there, few bytes will be added. If suppose rather than one byte, suppose for example, if you are having some 50 extra spaces in the piece of code which you have written for 50 bytes, that increases the execution time. To overcome that, it just overlooks. The next one is, before you starting to know about a programming language, you should know about what compiler is and what interpreter is. These are all the basics which we are going with before you start a programming language. What is a compiler and what is an interpreter? Compiler and interpreter both do the same job. They convert source code to machine code. Source code to machine code conversion will be there from both compiler as well as interpreter. So what does the compiler process do? Source code to compiler, compiler to intermediate code, and intermediate code to machine code. This is a two-step process. Whereas when coming to the interpreter, Even just do the source code to machine code process. It also converts from source code to machine code. But in between, it do have only one step. That means only one process will be there. That is an interpreter process. So before you starting with Python, you should know all the basics of what languages, what programming languages, what are the different types of programming languages we have, what are the different levels of programming language we have, and what is a compiler and what is an interpreter. So all these basics gives you an enhanced knowledge on the programming. Not only Python, any of the programming if you wanted to start like C, Java, any of the things, JavaScript, these basics are very important. And now when coming to this particular thing so-called Python, what Python is? Python is a general purpose language. What is a general purpose language? General purpose language in the sense we can use Python everywhere, wherever you want. You can use Python. You can use Python in banking. You can use Python in schooling for generating the reports. It can be used wherever you want. You can use Python as a calculator also for doing simple calculations. That much general purpose we can use Python. And it's a high level language. What is a high level language? As we have already done about the high level language, it considers only business logics. Memory issues are taken care by an extra unit so-called garbage collector. That means garbage collector is an inbuilt process in this programming in the high level. Is something which you get the clarity, and it's very much interactive. You get the input, immediately you get the output. That much interactive it is. And it's multi-paradism. Multi-paradism in the sense you have processor-oriented programming language, object-oriented programming language, scripting, and modular. Generally, people say Python is scripting. It's not just only scripting. It's a combination of multiple things. It's processor-oriented, object-oriented, scripting, and modular programming. It's a combination of all four. But people usually coin it scripting. It's not just scripting. A few people say it's object-oriented programming language. It's not just to all different types of programming languages were there in Python. And when coming to this, who developed Python? What is the birth of Python? Python was basically developed by a Netherlands scientist, so-called Guido van Rossum, in the year 1991. But originally he started it in 1989. But market launch, he had launched it into the market in 1994 with version 1.0. Initially, when he launched it, it's a middle level language because garbage collector concept was not there in the initial days. In 2000, he have launched with the second version. From there onwards, it became high level language. So garbage collector concept was existing since then. Third version got launched in the year 2008. Even then, it is a high level language because garbage collector concept was existing. So many people ask that how did he name it as Python? So the story might be little crazy, but still it's a true story. When Rossum was very much young, that means in the year 1967 to 1974, he used to watch a TV show so called as Monty Python Flying Circus. It's basically a stage comedy show. So he used to watch that particular show in BBC Netherlands, and he is very crazy about that show. He don't know what to name. So what he have done is he have named the programming language which he have built after that particular TV show, so called as Python. He have taken the Python word from his favorite TV show. And the implementations also, functions concepts from C, object oriented, that means OOPS concepts from C++, dynamic data type and interpretation concepts from shell scripting, modules concepts from modular 3. In that way, he have considered all the different essences from different types of programming language and he have built at Python. And the latest version was 3.12. So 3.12.1 I can say. So which got released on 2023 October 2nd. And 24th October 3.11 another version has come. 3.11.10. So 24th October 23. That means recently only. The stabilized version is 3.11.9. So we are working on this particular version only. But the now it got even 3.10 got stabilized. 3.9 also got stabilized. From 3.9, any version you can use. And apart from that, when we are working on this particular, when we are knowing about this particular Python, where we use Python and what are the advantages of Python and what are the features of Python. That means applications, advantages and features. The advantages of Python is when compared to any of the other programming language of C, C++, Java or .NET, Python is very simple at the syntactical level. And it do have less code. When I say simple syntax and less code, that means anyhow if you have simple syntax, obviously you will be having the lesser code and it will execute faster also. And when coming to the features, by looking at the Python code, it's very easy to learn, it's very easy to read, it's very easy to maintain, portable. You can compress the lines of code and scalable. You can take as much as data you want, extendable. How much data you want, that much data you can take. And graphical user interface. That means desktop applications can be built and we can communicate through databases in Python. For suppose, I say a small print statement in Python is print hi. Only this much. But I'm saying that portable. We can compress the lines of code also. Rather than this, we can just say hi. Even this also prints the same way like this. So we are compressing the code now. That means portable, scalable. Data scaling can be done. Data scaling is something which you can't understand now. We will talk about that in our future classes. But scaling of the data can be done. And you can extend. That means there is no limit for the data. You can take as much as data you wanted. And desktop applications can also be built using this particular thing so-called Python. And apart from that, when coming to the applications of Python, Python today used in everywhere. So people who are working on DevOps, AWS, Azure, GCP Cloud, all these people today also require Python because they work on Python. They do have Python at the back end. So apart from that, data science, data reporting, data analysis, automation, testing, web application development, network application development, animations, game development, graphical user interface, IoTs, IOEs, embedded system development, admin activities. Previously, CRM, they used to use SAP, but these days people are using Python to do all those things. Even web application development also or Android applications also can be done using Python. There is no other technology which beats Python. Today, if you learn Python with the data science, you have a very good amount of job with a very nice package. So data science is something, the backend code of doing all the predictions which we do in data science are something built using Python to report the data or to give the report to the client on all the work which you have done on the data. For that also you need Python. Analysis, the data which you have got by the client. do the proper analysis on that particular thing, for doing the complete understanding of the data or exploring the data. All those are also done on Python programming. To automate a process, you need Python. To test a process, you need Python. To develop a web application, you need Python today. Network application developments, you need Python. Animations are done using Python. Games are developed using Python. Not one, everywhere it was Python today. So versions, there are multiple versions. The latest versions are not included over here. 3.11, 3.11, 3.12, 3.12 also, it's a pre-release version available. And the stabilized version is 3.9, 3.10, 3.11. So, but when coming to this particular thing so-called Python, Python do have a original software in it, but still people won't work on that particular part. People use Python integrated development environments. So what is the necessity for the integrated development environments? We'll see that in our next session.